Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about the book Dino, Living High in the Dirty Business of Dreams by Nick Toshkes, which I think I'm pronouncing correctly. It's Italian, and I just looked it up. This actually isn't going to be a review. In fact, this is something I don't know if I've ever done on my channel before, because I only made it 53 pages into this book. Now, there have been many books that I have read since I have started this channel that I didn't finish. In fact, I had a run, it was the early part of 2014 where I had 3 in a row. I thought I was never going to find a book to read again. But I don't talk about them. I toss them into the recycling bin for donation, and donation bin, and I move on to the next book. But this one stands out for me. See, this is a national bestseller. And I found this author because someone online had said that he had written the greatest rock and roll biography ever done. And it was about Jerry Lee Lewis. And I'm not a huge Jerry Lee Lewis fan, but I went and checked it out, saw how much it was, and in the process discovered that he wrote a book about Dino, Dean Martin. And I'm a Dean Martin fan. I was when I was a kid. So I wanted to read a biography of Dean Martin. Fascinating guy. There's a few problems, though, and there's a reason I stopped at page 53. I was 2 pages in when I realized the author wanted to be a novelist. He was essentially writing kind of a Mickey Spillane detective-style novel through the lens of Dean Martin's life. It read like historical fiction. This is the novelization of Dean Martin's life. It's not a biography. And there's a difference. He talked about things in this book, and even in just the first few pages, that he couldn't have known unless he was inside the skull of Dean Martin. Because he's writing from the viewpoint of being inside the skull of Dean Martin. In a way that no author that is an actual biographer is going to write, because you can't know these things. So that put me off a little, but I thought I'd go with it. Then I encountered the excessive and pointless profanity. Now, I don't mind profanity if it serves a purpose, or even for humor's sake. But he just peppered this book with profanity that seemed to make no sense. There was no context for it. There's no reason. It didn't add anything to the passage. And yet there were paragraphs in here which were beautifully written. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just have to get into this guy's vibe, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to learn an author. I know that when I was younger and read a lot of fiction, the more I read of an author, I got better at reading them. And I could read their stuff faster because I learned their cadence, their rhythm. So okay, I'm gonna keep going. Then he threw out a homophobic slur. Now, he wasn't quoting someone from the 20s and 30s as though they were saying this. While I would still be annoyed with it, he would just be reporting on what someone else did. And I wouldn't put the blame on the author. I would put the blame on the person giving the homophobic slur from real life. No, this was written in the voice of the author, because he wasn't talking through a character, or a person rather. He was just talking as himself, telling this story. Then he repeatedly used the word whore when referring to prostitutes. Now, I understand that many people don't use the word sex worker. Okay, which is the most respectable term to use. But prostitute's relatively neutral, and that is one that we could use, I think, without great deals of emotional weight behind it. No, the author chose to use the word whore over and over and over again. And then he discusses human trafficking of women during the Depression era, Prohibition era. And he refers to them. Now, these are women that have been put, he specifies they were white women, that were being put into sexual slavery by the mafia. And he refers to them as dumb meat. Again, he's not quoting a gangster. There isn't things like this in this passage. It was just him talking about the era of criminality that took place in Steubenville, Ohio during Prohibition. And the author uses the term dumb meat, which is when I stopped reading the book. I can't go on further. Now, I cannot in good conscience put this in the donation pile. I had originally planned on giving it to my father. I don't want to hand this to my father. I have some plans in the near future. I was thinking I may actually buy myself a .22 caliber pellet rifle. Maybe 25 caliber. I haven't decided yet. And I may just save this for a target, because it isn't worth reading. And if this is a national bestseller, that's an indictment of the entire reading public in America. This is nauseating. This is disturbing. And it's a poorly written biography. I don't want the novelization of someone's life. I want to read a biography. Now, I still want to read a biography of Dean Martin. I'm just going to have to go find one. One not written by this guy. So I don't know if anyone out there who's read this author. There you go, there's his name. Or this book in particular, or the Jerry Lee Lewis book. But tell me, if you have read this guy, what did you think of him? Did you really think that his style was worth the homophobic slurs and the crushing misogyny? Was that worth glossing over for that, for a few paragraphs that were well crafted between the pointless and meaningless bits of profanity? I want to know. I am baffled how this got to be a bestseller. This is an ugly book. And it says ugly things about the fact that it is so bloody popular.